Well, it's been a busy day around the country. Plenty of politics before we see Parliament return for 2023 next week. And one man who will be in the thick of it when it does, Sky News Political Editor Andrew Clennell, who joins me now. Andrew, we'll pick up the economic manifesto. It's dominated the headlines right around the country, released, of course, by the Treasurer in the form of a 6,000-word essay to the monthly magazine titled The Rebirth of Capitalism. It's gone off a bit like a bomb in the business community. Economists have criticised it heavily. All the key players, the BCA, the industry group, have argued that he's sleepwalking us into a command economy. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it's a mistake. I think, as you editorialised, he just should be getting on with his job. I mean, I had a politician say to me yesterday that one of the reasons Albanese's doing pretty well, or perceived to be doing pretty well, is he's seen to be reasonably humble and getting on with the job. And this is the opposite of this. This is Jim Chalmers lecturing from on high, like the university academic he used to be, saying, I know the way forward. Well, you know, Federal Treasurer is a pretty tough job. Why don't you just get on with it? And maybe after a few years, you'll have time to reflect and have a philosophy. Right now, just get on with doing everything you can to reduce inflation, get that budget in order and prevent Australia going into recession. That's your day job, not doing the monthly essay. Now, people in the government say, well, he was on leave. Well, probably should have just hung out with his family, really.
Well, he hasn't even had his feet under the desk for a year. I mean, if Peta Credlin wanted to write an essay for the monthly on a strategic economic direction, it might be worth reading. But, you know, you point out he's got a big day job as it is. I spoke to a Labor Party veteran last night who couldn't believe, and he's a Chalmers fan. He says, I can't believe he'd waste that time over something that he really doesn't have to spare on doing something like this. He said he's a young man, he's 44. And this is the sort of thing where these words will come back to haunt him for the rest of his career. I mean, I suspect, you tell me if I'm wrong, this will be a key focus of Parliament next week, won't it?
Look, I think it will. There's no doubt. And that'll be an interesting one because he's been pretty successful in taking the mickey out of Angus Taylor. Angus Taylor, the Shadow Treasurer, has got a bit of baggage. So, but Taylor's got some ammunition here. And the criticism and suspicion around Jim Chalmers is that he is pretty left-wing. Let's face it, most Australian voters are in the centre. He's in the right faction. Albanese's in the left, but as I said on air yesterday, it's like they've swapped sides on this one. And there's always the concern, I think, for a lot of observers of Labor that because now half the vote for a leader is from the party membership, correct, and they have more of the majorities from the left, that people like Jim Chalmers are seeking to pander to the left. And that's the concern that's partly behind this. I do know in Shadow Cabinet, Shadow Ministers would tell me they were concerned that he was cozying up to the left with some of his approaches. We know he was at the scene of a few tax and spend accidents in the Bill Shorten opposition as opposition finance spokesman. Jim Chalmers should be working hard to get away from that image if he wants to be a future Prime Minister and if he wants to be a Treasurer that is remembered, like Peta Credlin and Paul Keating are in Australia. That monthly essay is not going to get him remembered, not for any good reasons anyway.